All right, welcome back to the Spiritual Warfare Unit. This is the Warrior's Way. Our warrior we're talking to today is Father Thomas Dunseth, and he was finishing his story about learning Cantonese, the 9 different tone sounds, blows my mind, and sign language, and you got the guy reeling you in, right? Trying to, after you've been voluntold to get out there. So that's where we finished up with the story. So I'm curious, how does that story, because you went from, from Detroit to there, and now how in the world did you get from there to here? How'd that happen?
All right. Well, the important thing to understand is that I never left there. So I'm actually still there.
So you're in 2 places at the same time.
With COVID right now, haven't been able to get over because they got a 21-day quarantine mandatory.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so, after 21 days in a hotel, if you don't jump out the window, you'll probably have to go home. So right. What can you do?
Yeah.
So, I haven't gone, but I'm still, I still assist with that school.
Wow.
I'm still on the board.
Okay.
For them, we help to guide the school, work together with the local government, and to educate the kids and to teach them about Jesus Christ.
That's awesome. So you're still doing that. So
I'm still there. So I'm over there several times a year. We have meetings, do governmental documents and papers, and I send them back and forth with FedEx. And
gotcha.
So I'm there. I'm still there often, and I have contact. But I did move back physically, full-time, mostly to the U.S.
Mostly.
In the year 2000.
Okay.
So I'd been there about 10 years, just exclusively, and then I moved back to Michigan.
Right. So, and then you moved to where?
Or
Highland?
Well, I could have actually lived anywhere I wanted,
okay.
just because I was brought on by the same Lutheran church group to be the missionary at large for the state of Michigan in Windsor.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
The church in Michigan. Well, it's like with the Catholics, right? It's divided up into dioceses.
Yeah.
Throughout the U.S. So Michigan actually is one of ours, and then there's about 435 congregations.
And that's Lutheran again.
These are all these Missouri Lutheran churches in Michigan.
All right, so you got to decide. So you decided to come back home, and how did you get to the Deaf Flint church and church that we have in Flint there? How'd that happen?
Okay. Well, just after I came back, so then I was placed here. Then I had to learn American Sign Language.
Right. Yeah.
So
no tones, but another
right.
language, right?
So I was actually the pastor of the Detroit church when I first came back.
Oh, okay.
So it was just in 2020 actually that I was moved then to the Flint church.
Wow.
Yeah. So Flint, of course, Flint is a big area for deaf, right?
Yeah.
We have most people in Flint know where the deaf kids go to school.
Yep.
You've got Michigan School for Deaf, the one deaf institution in Michigan. But what most people don't know about is there was another deaf school in Michigan for over 100 years called Lutheran School for the Deaf in Detroit. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yep.
For 100 years.
For 100 years. Little kiddies came from all over the U.S. They had dormitories. They stayed there. They learned sign language and English and Jesus.
Wow.
And then graduated and went back home and populated deaf churches across the country.
Oh, outstanding. What happened with that?
In the 80s, what became really popular is mainstreaming. So parents did not have to send their children then to institutions far away and see them twice a year at Christmas and Easter.
Right.
They could stay at home with mom and dad and go into local schools with interpreters in the local school. So the government provided that.
But isn't that more lonely, I think?
Well, in some ways, yes, because you're not surrounded by a lot of peers.
Yeah, and I would imagine the kids are terrible.
That's a good observation. Yeah, very good.
I would find that more lonely, I think, than actually going to
Many do. Many do. Yeah.
All right. So you were at Detroit for 20 years.
15 years.
15.
Yeah, a little more. 18 years.
From 2000 to
20 to 22. Oh yeah, I suppose. Well, there was an interim which we're not going to talk about, but
yeah.
I was a few years out in Long Island, New York.
Okay.
At a deaf school out there. So.
Yeah, so about 20 years, and then you come to Flint. Now, this, mind you, this is just after COVID. I think we met, right, or right in the end of it. I can't remember. And so we got to meet, and I had never met someone that had done sign language and School of Death, and I certainly had never met anybody that was looking at drug rehabilitation. And to be honest, my ignorance of this situation, well, it didn't even dawn on me. And I'm not really. Why would it, right? So that's why I thought your story was extraordinary, because they struggle with the exact same things that everybody else struggles with on top of being deaf, right? So you're looking at having to deal with not fitting in. So you're always the nerd, right? You're always the standout, and people are always making fun of you. And then I imagine that hits depression, and teenage years got to be terrible, right? And then that addiction, just so they have something. So, and the reason why I love addiction is most people that struggle with addiction, they were looking for peace, but they settled for numb, right? And they were looking for God the whole time, but they settled for something less powerful, right? And it's the same path. Like, I'm just taking it to the next step that you were looking for the whole time, right? And so being able to help people that struggle with this became an idea. And then when you had said, hey, your program on spiritualwarfareunit.com, I want to take a look at that, blew my mind. And then when you said, hey, how many languages? I was like, whoa, it didn't even hit my head, right? And because you're thinking, okay, we got to look at this from the perspective of around the world and people that can get to this. And I wasn't even thinking that. And then when you said that statement, I started thinking that, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is what this guy needs. And I started pumping out, I'm a solutions person. I want to know how many solutions that you need, and we get you going. So that's how Thomas and I met, and that's the structure that we were talking about. So, like, what led you to let the people know about how, like, you got into the drug rehabilitation version? Was it something because there was nothing there and you have to invent this, or is it something that was laid out? Because in my experience, normally it's like, oh, no, we have a need. We're going to voluntold you into the scenario, and then we're going to move forward. And I got a feeling it's probably what happened, but kind of it's the best way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, the Lord, how he leads us.
Right.
And that he may lead some of us by different paths, and some of them may not be all that pleasant paths, but the goal is a very pleasant, is pleasantness and peace and joy forever.
Yeah. It's actually the way we want to go. We just don't understand, Like I was telling you at the beginning there, it's the biggest lie we all tell ourselves is that we know what we're doing. Yeah. God made us all individuals, and we have a path, and he knows why we're here, but we don't know why we're here, hence faith and trust and all those, and that list of things in this book I read somewhere, about God or something, some kind of manual about life, I don't know, and I wasn't paying attention.
Well, a neat thing that I think I've learned from knowing you, Isaac, is that how the Lord uses things like prison, addiction, as paths to him.
Yeah.
It's a rough path, but it's a path that I think former addicts and former people who are incarcerated may look back and say, if this is what it took me to bring me to the Lord, it was worth it.
Yeah, because the negative is only a negative if you don't learn for it. Actually, it tells us that in Proverbs that one of the ways to learn in life is called an error or a reproof, right? Which is a mistake. It's a screw up. And so if we take that situation and we say, I screwed up in the situation and we learned not to do it again, was that a bad thing? It's only a bad thing if you keep doing it, right? Which is called a cyclical thing, and sin has cycles and things in training. If I don't learn from it and I keep doing the same thing, then beatings will commence and some morale improves. Like, you're just never going to win that fight because God wants you out of that scenario, and this is the way you have to learn. And if you won't learn it, then you have to consistently take that path, and it gets more difficult than less difficult. And then once you realize, all right, Lord, you have a purpose for me, and each one of us have purpose. Like, that's why having a brain injury, it matters because there's purpose. If someone is deaf, that matters because they have purpose. There's an exact reason why God made them that way, and he has a path for them that they're going to enjoy doing, and he made them to enjoy so they can be successful, right? And so to be sitting here with you, and being able to help people find that path that they're going to be successful on. Because ultimately, like everybody, the reason why we did this with the nonprofits and the churches is because you guys are doing the work, right? You're hands-on doing the work, and you guys know the purpose. You know our purpose. And most people out there, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do with my life? Who am I? Why? These are the big questions. Like someone asked me a lot of times, Isaac, I'm depressed. And I'm like, okay, well, when's the last time you helped somebody? When's the last time you went to a soup kitchen or donated some clothes, right? And they'll go, huh. And I'll go, I find helping people to help me with depression, right? And so they'll go do that. Like, man, that was fun. I was like, it's addicting, right? You want some more? I got a list, right? Because I don't like watching people fail. And the only reason I do the Bible is because it works. If it didn't work, I would be its largest adamant fighter and say it doesn't work. But I did it, and then it worked. What do you do with that? You sit there and you have the truth, and you got to make a decision, right? Either this is real or it's junk. And if it's real, then how do I let other people know it's real so they don't fail, right? So just like, how do I help people find your information to help these people if this is a passion? Do you have like a website or like a Facebook or both or anything like that?
Yeah. So St. Paul Lutheran Church has its own, St. Paul Flint has its own website and Facebook.
Okay.
We have one that's specifically deaf. It's ELMS-deaf.org. And on there we have resources and just information for both, if you're looking for a deaf church someplace or Bible studies, or you're looking for various services, you can go and take a look at that. But, you asked somebody how I came in contact, or how I know that addiction was a need.
Yeah.
Somebody locally, a longtime friend who was actually working in the deaf community here in Flint for many years, she came to me and said, hey, this is a problem, and there's not much available for deaf people. Can you help?
Right.
And that following that meeting, I began looking around, seeing what was available, because I didn't know much about it.
Right.
And then talking to you, of course, who then encouraged me greatly. And then it seems that this is something that we really hope to be doing pretty soon.
Oh, no, we're going to be getting it done, bud. Don't you worry. I'm going to be chucking so much at you, you're going to be like, no, that's too much. That's my goal, is to get you there, man. That's awesome. I love what you do. So if somebody wanted to, like, learn sign language or get involved, is that something that you guys do, or is there, like, classes they can take or anything like that?
Yeah, I think in the past, the CAC, Communication Access Center, here, it used to be connected with the deaf school. Now it's out in Flushing, but you can still look for that Communication Access Center.
Okay.
And they could tell you where you can learn sign language classes. But, one of the best ways to learn a language is to hang out with the people who use it.
Right.
So come to church.
Yeah,
hang out with the deaf people. Come to events.
Yeah, go work for Jesus for a little while.
Just hang out and learn language.
And
it's
so
fun.
you guys have like events and a calendar and all that stuff, so people want to check out. And like I said, just being someone then I didn't even think about it, and that's my own ignorance. And so one of the reasons why I had you on here is because I find the deaf community caring and funny. Actually very and it may be the brain injury that makes it funny, because there's certain things that I'll find funny that other people won't, but I they're so normal. That's the best way I can explain it. They're extremely normal, and I look forward to being a part of this and helping them out when I can. You guys sit tight. We're going to come back with our last session with Father Thomas Dunseth and with his deaf community, and I look forward to talking to him soon. Sit tight.